Hey, and welcome to a new week and a new reading vlog. This time for my TBR for the week, I thought that I would explore where I live. So I found some books that are all about Alabama. This is our new home state for 1 year. And so I just wanted to read some books that were either set in Alabama or written by people from Alabama. And I also wanted to span different time frames. I didn't want to do all historical. So anyway, you'll see what I picked. Hopefully I can make it through them all this week. So first I have The Story of My Life by Helen Keller. I didn't know that Helen Keller was from Alabama, mostly because I don't know anything about her, but it does make more sense that I have a friend who's from Alabama and she also loves Helen Keller. So it makes sense now why she's the person that I know who is obsessed with her. But anyway, I also have another nonfiction, Rosa Parks' My Story by Rosa Parks. So both of those are told by the people who lived these lives, Helen Keller and Rosa Parks. And then I have a middle grade, Inside Out and Back Again by Tannha Lay. I'll find out how to pronounce that. I'm not sure how. But this one is a middle grade. I'm excited to read it. I know nothing about it except that it takes place in Alabama. Okay, then I got Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. I saw this movie, Fried Green Tomatoes, years ago when it first came out. Like, I was a little kid, and I really don't remember anything that happens in it except that they were at a cafe. So, or that they owned some kind of restaurant-y thing. Clearly, I don't remember any of it. So, and then lastly, I want to try to read Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. So, those are the 5 books that I'm hoping to read this week that either take place in Alabama or are written by somebody in Alabama. We have some fiction and nonfiction. We have adult and middle grade. I think those will be our two age ranges right now. And that's it. I am going to try to get a couple of them from the library. I was hoping that they would have all of them, but I haven't gone to look yet. So I'll see what they have. And then I don't know the order that I'm going to read them in or anything else. So I'll be back with whichever book I decide to go with first. And hopefully I'll have a physical copy of it. Well, Jango needs to say hi in the new house because I started filming and he started whining. So if you've been here for any length of time, you know that Jango, when he hears me talking, is like, oh, wait, am I supposed to be in that? And so then he has to participate. So he is doing great in the new house, living his best life. Lots of carpet, so he's just stretched out, sleeping everywhere he can find to sleep. Now, let's talk about the first book that I finished reading, which was the middle grade book, and technically the only book that I have finished right now, but it's the middle grade book called Inside Out and Back Again. And this, first of all, it's written in verse. Second of all, the author's note at the end is fantastic. And she explains in the note how much of this book is her life. She was in Saigon as it was falling, and she and her family escaped. Her father was not there, and her mother and all of her older brothers got to Alabama. They came to America. They were sponsored by a family here in Alabama. And so the cutest part of the book to me is when she's talking about learning English. And she's like, whoever made up the rules for English clearly could not spell. I think that's so funny. Anybody who has learned English, which is not me, anybody who learned English as their second language definitely knows the hardships of this. And even us native English speakers are like, why is that a rule? Like, it's so weird that English has weird rules that don't seem to make a lot of sense. But anyway, that was the funny part of the book. For me, it was so well done. I thought she is 10 years old in this book, and everything feels like it's coming from a 10-year-old perspective. Like, even if situations are happening and you know what the adults around her are thinking, we get the 10-year-old experience of that. And so, like, when they're on the ship and they're leaving and coming to the United States, we get her thoughts about what's going on and the hardships that she went through and how just, you think, oh, she's thinking that, but I bet those adults were really worried about this part or whatever. And so it was just really great. It does deal with a lot of bullying that she had to put up with when she got to America. And also, I loved the theme in this of how she went from knowing that she was smart at her home and in her country and coming to a new place where she knew nothing about it and realizing that she wasn't smart anymore, and kind of coming back to the realization of like, no, I'm still me on the inside. I'm just not smart at the English things. But so I just thought that was really cool. It takes place over 1 year, and that's it. 1 full year. We get the date at the top, and it tells us like how the whole thing goes. And that's just an interesting look at like how people want to assimilate into the new place that they are and yet still hold on to where they came from and where their family originated from and all of those things. And I just thought that it was really a really wonderful book, and I really liked it. It was a great little introduction to Alabama. The next book that I'm going to read, I did manage to get 3 of the 4 books, or I think I got all the rest of the 4 books are available at my library. I'm going to go pick up 3 of them today. They're ready. I hope the last one will be ready by the time I get there. And so I'm going to be starting the autobiography of Helen Keller. That's going to be the first one that I'm going to do. And then I'm not sure where I'll go from there. I think I have 3 books after that. I have the Rosa Parks, the Fried Green Tomatoes, and the Ralph Ellison book. So I'll have to see where I'm going to go from there. But since I'm starting off, since I'm doing this nonfiction next, I'll probably hold off on Rosa Parks because we're actually going to go to the Rosa Parks Museum in a couple of days. So maybe I'll save that one and read it right before we go to the museum. I think that'll be my plan right now. So anyway, I'm going to go get my library books and start reading about Helen Keller. And I know that this is bad lighting right here, and I actually have a light right there that has not been plugged in yet, and it'll shine on, no wait, I have a light there, it'll shine here, and it should light up this side. But for now, while I talk to you about Helen Keller, I'm not going to have one side of my face lit up. Anyway, I finished The Story of My Life by Helen Keller. I enjoyed this so much. First of all, I had no idea. She wrote this when she was only 22, and she lived to be much older based on that photo of her right there. But what I remember about her is probably some TV movie or something that I watched when I was a little kid. I don't know. But I just remember that she was a little kid in the movie, and she was like so mad. And I mean, of course, she was frustrated. There was no way for her to communicate. And she just kept like fighting and fighting with everybody around her. And this book just makes her seem like a complete person and not just this angry child that I had in my head the whole time. I finished this one, and I am in the middle of the next one. Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. Oh, this other one is a nonfiction book, and this is a fiction book. And I don't think I'm going to have time to finish Invisible Man before I need to read Rosa Parks before we go to the Rosa Parks Museum. None of that made sense. But I think I'm only going to do 3 books in this vlog is what I'm saying. But this book so far is wonderful on audio. I love, this takes place in Birmingham and around the Birmingham area. I'm pretty sure, right? At least right now, that's what I think. I mean, it takes place in Whistle Stop, Alabama. I don't even know if that's an actual place, but it does say that she lives in California and Alabama. Anyway, she wrote this book in the 80s, and it's really funny so far. And I really like the audible narration or the audio narration. She does a very good Southern accent. So that's where I am. One of the things that I really like about it is that we have these little inserts throughout the book. I just skipped ahead to one. I'm not this far in, but where this woman that apparently works at the newspaper, her name is Dot Weems. And so she has Whistle Stop Alabama's weekly bulletin. And so she like just kind of says everything that happened in their little town. And what's so funny about that is there is a lady from my town, and her name was Miss Imy. She was technically related to me really far down the line. But anyway, she did the same thing in our local newspaper. She would write like everything that happened, who came to visit in the town and who got married and who had kids, and like everything was in there. And so it was just really cute to see kind of the same thing reflected in here. So I'm going to continue reading this. I have seen the movie, but it was a really long time ago. So I'm going to keep reading this and then get to Rosa Parks. But I have like 24 hours to do that. So we'll see. Anyway, that's the update for right now. Hopefully I will have my whole face lit up next time and not just half of it. But this office is a work in progress, y'all. So I finished fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. It was really good. Like, it didn't change a lot from what I had already talked about whenever I checked in yesterday. And it's just like a sweet book about a lady who is telling what her life used to be like when she was growing up in this neighbor family, I guess. They kind of took her in and ended up raising her, and she married one of the boys. They had a lot of kids, and she married one of the boys, and this is just the story about them and her telling the story of Whistle Stop, Alabama, and the things that happened there at the Whistle Stop Cafe. I know that most of this story takes place in the 1930s and 40s, but the use of the N-word was just outrageous. And because it's so jarring, it's really hard to separate myself from that. Like, I can't take myself out of where I am right now and not just be shocked by it. Like, I don't know. I don't exactly know how to say it or what I'm trying to say about it, other than it takes me out of the story. So it doesn't even really matter what's happening in the story. They'll say it and I'll be like, oh, and then we continue on with the story. But I don't know. It's the same thing that happens in Stephen King books, and it happened in this one a lot. But the story is such a good one at its heart. It's just so good. And so also, if you're looking for an older book, this was written in the 80s, but it was set, like I said, in the 30s with LGBTQ representation. I knew from watching the movie that I thought, at least, that the people who owned the cafe were together, but I wasn't sure because it's been a really long time since I saw the movie. But if you need that to fulfill some kind of prompt, this does. Now, that wraps up the Alabama reading. And the bad part about it is I didn't get to read the Rosa Parks book, and I didn't get to read Invisible Man. So those are actually going to be carried over. I'm thinking that probably toward the end of the year, I'll do books that I wanted to read and I missed. But I did want to say that we did go to the Rosa Parks Museum today, and it is amazing. First of all, it's fairly cheap to go and only costs $6 for the tickets. And you definitely can spend like an hour there walking around. They have first of all, you can't take any photos or videos inside the museum. So I took some stuff outside while we were walking around. They have the marker there saying this is where she was when she was arrested for not moving out of her seat. So that's there, and I got video of that, but I couldn't take any video inside. But inside the museum, it's a guided tour of what happened, what segregation was like on the buses, and then what happened leading up to that day on December 1st when she was just like, no, I'm not getting up out of my seat. So it was a fantastic museum, and even though I didn't get to read her book yet, I'm definitely going to, and the museum was fantastic. So since Skeeter does not want to stop squeaking her ball, I'm going to go ahead and go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.